So 3.5 years ago, we started a new project here on Summer Island, on our house reef, which is called the Blue Lagoon. And we've been creating artificial reefs made out of limestone blocks. We built a nursery station where we hang up coral ropes, and one of our other projects are the coral pops. The reefs that we have built with limestone are attached with corals coming from our nursery. The survival rate of the coral ropes are about 95%. They can grow from thumb size into about 10 to 12 inches of size, and these are transplanted onto our coral reefs. The reason why we do this is first to create a nice reef for our divers to go down to. The biggest reason why we do it is to create more awareness for our divers, our guests, just to show them what a coral colony, a coral reef is actually doing to the aquatic life underwater here in the Maldives. Just to see the corals growing on our house reef is just one of the most amazing things you can experience, not just as a dive instructor, but also as a guest. The latest addition on our house reef is the Mars project from Alex Goad.
So basically what we're doing is we're using 3D printing technology to create a structure that is as effective as possible to transplant corals onto. So we're not designing it so that it looks like coral. It's really designed specifically to be a transplantation device.
We've been using limestone blocks, we've been using other materials to generate reefs. With the Mars project, we want to see what the ceramic material is actually doing to the coral. If it's going to be an improvement, if the corals are growing faster or maybe less. And this is basically our next step. In the Blue Lagoon, we want to start observing the corals, the growth rate, and what the different kind of materials are doing to the corals.
So, I mean, what we've done with the design is we've designed, little nooks and crannies to transplant corals onto. So we're using a lot of different coral transplanting techniques, including, steel ties and then also crevices which we can jam corals into. So we'll really be looking at what works the best, and from there we can then use that sort of research in the future. So, I mean, I think what's really interesting about this is that everything's been, pretty much everything's been manufactured right on the beach. So the transport, from the beach to the final location has only been about 100 meters. So that's also, I think, really interesting, is looking at the, the whole process from start to finish and how we can make it as, energy efficient as possible. I think we really wanted to use this modular design for this area because we didn't have access to large barges or cranes or anything like that. This was a fairly small budget project, and we wanted to really, I guess, showcase what we could do, just using the, divers to install. So I mean, we've sort of worked closely with Ariane and some of the transplanting techniques that he's developed and incorporated that into the design as well to make the transplanting process as effective as possible. Yeah, I mean, these transplanting techniques are really interesting because people around the world are developing, different ways of doing things. So what I think would be really interesting in the future if there was more sharing of, different techniques and kind of a more universal way of sharing information as well. So, I mean, this is really, starting on a very small scale. It's not, really we like to look at, how successful this is and then you could upscale in the future. I mean, this sort of work is still on a very small scale, so it's not, it's not something that we'd want to like really fully upscale just yet. But I do think there is a lot of hope with, these sort of coral nurseries and coral farming. So I definitely think this is a positive, a step in the right direction. Yeah, I think there's a lot of, interest in this sort of work, this sort of coral transplanting and coral farming, and I think it is definitely the future of this sort of restoration work, especially for the Maldives.
So this is our way of helping Mother Nature to create and regenerate new reefs. The project is an amazing extension of what we already created here on the house reef. Also, after the installation of the Mars project, we're going to continue building on this Mars project, creating more protection, more reef. Once again, we will attach these structures with coral fragments, hoping that it's going to turn into an amazing reef full of life, full of corals.
The last few days we've been working very closely with Alex. It's been an eye-opening experience. It's been very exciting. Finally, when it's all done and the structure is on the ocean, it's just been amazing. The best part of it is that we've gotten the guys to be involved, and a lot of locals, they've gone and seen the place, and just for them to see that there are so many things that we can do on the island. That's the whole idea of it. We want to go towards a more environment-friendly practices, and we've been doing this for a while now, and this is an addition to that initiative. And it's just amazing to see how the staff have been really involved and interested in being a part of this. And my hope is, of course, to keep on doing this. This is not a one-time thing. It's just a beginning, and with the involvement of the staff, we would like them to go talk about it as well on the island, do something, create something, and come up with interesting ideas to do these kind of things to help the environment and to help our community and contribute a little to the environment.